Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And top of the morning to you. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me on this wonderful morning is the political analyst of the Sunday Island newspaper, Mr. C.A. Chandra Prema. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Faraz.
And thank you for being on Newsline.
Very pleased to be here.
Mr. Chandra Prema, how necessary was the Pada Yatra?
Well, necessary in the sense it's just another protest
Right.
launched by the joint opposition, and there were certain stated objectives.
Right.
Obviously, they were protesting against EPCA, against the VAT increase,
Yeah.
against the impending VAT increase, we can say, because it's due towards the middle of this month,
Yeah.
on the 11th of August. Then several other issues like that. So those were the stated objectives.
Right.
And then there were obviously
Yeah.
unstated objectives as well,
Which were?
which was that we are going through a period when the two main parties
Yeah.
are now being lumped together as one government,
Right.
and now a new opposition is taking shape outside.
Right.
Now solidifying that was also obviously one of the unstated objectives of this Padayatra.
Right.
Now there were about three such large events which were held over the past few months.
Yeah.
Now you take the meeting at Hyde Park. That again was for certain stated objectives. There were two stated objectives.
Yeah.
One was the fertilizer, the change or the alteration of the fertilizer subsidy,
Yeah.
and then this issue of EPCA with India.
Yeah.
There were two stated objectives, but also once again in the background was this idea of solidifying this opposition that was taking shape. So that was one step. Then came the May Day rally. Now once again, that was also with the same objective, with the same unstated objective.
Yeah.
And then we had this Padayatra.
Yeah.
Now this was a very successful, I would say, political. We have not seen such events in our lifetimes. Having gone for these things frequently over the past 30 odd years, we haven't seen such events. Now I went for the start of the Padayatra in Kandy, and then I observed that up to a point, and also in Mavanalla when it ended, and then once again here in Colombo when it started off from Kiribati, and after it came to Colombo at Lipton Circus.
Right.
So it was quite a statement that was made, undoubtedly.
Were there genuine crowds?
Oh yes. Now even in Kiribati, now I walked with that procession, behind that procession for a few kilometers. I was right at the back,
Right.
with a group led by DV Pool. They were the last lot to go. I was right at the back there. I just walked. People were walking 25 to 30 abreast,
Right.
and that entire 3-lane part of the road which leads towards Colombo, all three lanes was absolutely packed with people. It was not just
They were not
five or six people walking abreast. This was 25 to 30 people walking abreast as far as the eye could see. So it was a huge crowd, and even here in Town Hall, rather Lipton Circus, the whole place was a sea of heads when it ended. Even though thousands would have dropped out the same way that I dropped out.
Yeah.
Because due to sheer exhaustion.
Yeah.
So it was a very powerful statement. And once again, that unstated objective has been furthered a little more.
What message does this send to the government?
No, it's certainly a sign, a warning sign that the government should heed.
Right.
Because I can tell you with confidence that the UNP or the SLFP and the UNP together, SLFP in the sense the Maitripala Sirisena faction of the SLFP plus the UNP together, will not be able to organize anything of that sort. I'm telling you that because the last May Day, I went and observed all three May Day rallies held in Colombo, one after the other, within 1 hour.
සුදුරෝණ කෙනෙක් ලංකාව ගැන හදපු අලුත්ම වීඩියෝ එක. ගුටි කෙලි නැති කුටි කෙලිය.
Who has the guts? KP, relax. Today at 12 p.m.
Take all that into account. Then there was, of course, the rally of the JVP in the BRC grounds, which was far easier to observe because turn out at Kirlapada. Now I wrote that in the paper. Because I might have been one of the peak hour.
Right. Okay.
You know, most media establishments just send people to. I think they should adopt this strategy of sending one party to all three,
Right.
while having their individual journalists. That gives you a better picture of what exactly is happening. So that was quite an eye opener. Now you know that the May Day rally, the last May Day,
Yeah.
that was held like that was like an election. Each person was trying to prove that he has more with
Yeah.
him. So there, I can say with confidence that the joint opposition was on top
Right.
as far as the May Day rally was concerned. But that may not have been conveyed to the public strongly enough. You know, because the aerial footage and all that was not adequate. They didn't show the real crowd there. They showed only a part of the crowd, so it was not adequate. And it may not have sunk in that this was by far the biggest.
Right.
And that itself was a big statement to make, no? For anyone to come and say that an opposition rally was bigger than the UNP and JVP rallies combined, that's a big statement to make. Nobody will make a statement like that lightly. It was really big, unprecedented crowd. So that was one side, and I suppose here this time they have managed to convey that to the broader public as well, not just the people who watched it.
Right.
Because the aerial footage is there, and that has been widely disseminated over the social media and that sort of thing, over the mainline media. So they have made a point there, and the government should be a little aware of this, because we have seen the same phenomenon happening in Britain also. No, for us,
Yeah.
you know, the three main parties
Yeah.
just trounced by non-entities,
Indeed. Indeed.
by people like Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
I mean, who led that? Who basically led the charge on behalf of Brexit. So, looking at these gatherings and the fact that these people can do it now, after May Day they have this, but can any one of the governing parties do something of that sort? One after the other. Hyde Park, May Day, then this. No, politically, it seems to indicate which way the cookie is crumbling as far as public.
Well, yeah. And which way is that? In whose favour is this coming out in? Who will emerge?
No, there are various issues which favour the joint opposition. No?
Yes.
Now you take the mere fact that the protest against the VAT began in Gaul, the stronghold of the UNP.
Yeah.
Now that is the Gaul town electorate was almost always won by the UNP, and sometimes the majority in that was enough to offset the majorities in the other electorates which the other side gets. There have been occasions like that. So that is where it started. Then even after the Supreme Court suspended the imposition of the increase of the VAT,
Yeah.
there was a demonstration in, there was a hartal in PETA. And there what they asked for was, they didn't ask for a suspension of the VAT because it had already been suspended. What they were saying was, when this comes before Parliament again, we don't want the MPs to vote for it. That was the theme of their hartal. And now the thing is, they have scheduled this for the 11th of August.
Right. Right.
So really, in whose favor is all that working?
Right.
So that is something I suppose the government should take serious note of.
And do you think that this is the actions of this joint opposition? Does that now throw to the winds forever and a day that there can be this unity at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is being thrown out of sync?
Yeah, I think the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, I can't see how those two factions can unite really, Varasi. It just doesn't seem practical.
So does that mean that finally Mahinda Rajapaksa and his followers will need to get themselves a new party?
Yes, it may work out that way because there will be the local government elections, or failing that, at least the provincial council elections due next year.
Yeah.
So at that stage, they will have to go it alone because there is this opinion within the opposition that they can't trust the leadership of the SLFP.
Right. Right.
The leadership is with the government.
Yeah.
They are not going. They can't contest as a part of the government.
Right.
Because the public mood is, the sentiment is changing.
Right.
It's not just over VAT.
Yeah.
Over many other smaller grievances.
Yeah.
VAT may be more widespread.
Yeah. So things are adding up.
Things are adding up. And the thing is for us that in this bill that is come on the 11th, nothing has changed. That 15% on the health services, that remains. The 15% on the wholesale and retail trade remains.
But we've then had members of the SLFP saying that they're not willing to support this.
Yes, unless amendments are made.
Yeah.
But that is still at the discussion stage. We don't know whether any amendments will be made.
It's just a few days more left now.
10 days more. But if any changes are made, will that serve its purpose? Will the VAT serve its purpose? Because that was one of the preconditions to getting that IMF loan.
Yeah.
And what happens to the IMF program if they fail to collect the revenue that they said they are going to collect?
They won't get the next installment.
Yeah, that is the danger. So it'll be far worse. I think the better option, the less damaging option for everybody concerned, the country as well as the government, would be to introduce that VAT.
Right.
But there is serious dissension among the retailers.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is some there is a lot of difficulty in paying that.
Yeah.
So they'll have to take that also into consideration. So it's a very unenviable situation that the government finds itself in at this moment.
So doesn't that sort of action then completely sort of compromises the president's stand and that of his party, that they don't want to burden the people even further? And so doesn't this issue highlight the difficulties of this so-called national government?
It does indeed. In fact, I think nobody expected the new government to come into power and then literally commit economic suicide by increasing state sector salaries by 10,000 rupees.
Yeah, but that has a knock-on effect.
That has had a knock-on effect because now what happened was they got the about 1.3 million people would have got this, or a little less.
Right.
Say 1 million people.
Right.
1 million in the state sector because there are casual employees and all kinds of people who may not qualify for that. But they got it. Then once they got that, they started spending that on imported goods and all kinds of things, cars especially. and then that led to a balance of payments crisis. So then there was pressure on the rupee, and they had to expend the foreign reserves on that. So whole chain reaction took place as a result of this political largesse. If you try to buy votes in that manner, I suppose every government will suffer the same fate, whoever tries to do that. And they took a double hit by increasing government expenditure on the salaries, and at the same time losing government revenue by cutting taxes on fuel and various other items at that time. So that was a very unwise move to make, even though they would justify it on the grounds that they needed that to win the parliamentary election. But then they have won the parliamentary election, all right, they have got a government, but then it's a government that is always on the brink of a crisis. If you look at that last sovereign bond issue that they made for us, you'll notice that since this government came into power, they have been taking a lot of short-term loans, foreign loans. You see, now they took currency swaps from India, 3 currency swaps. Then there was a sovereign bond issue, then innumerable Sri Lanka development bond issues and so on. And when you take that whole lot together, about 3.3 billion of that had to be paid off before the end of this year. End of this year. Now, the government managed to pay off part of the Indian loans. About 1,800 million US dollars. Then there was the remainder. About another 1,400 or 1,500 US dollars, million US dollars. And that sovereign bond issue just about suffices for that. So we are just living on the brink, always living on the brink, not knowing what is going to happen next month.
So very much unlike the United National Party.
Absolutely. You begin to wonder for us what happened to these people, because they were so careful when they came into power in 2001. How is it that they threw caution to the winds?
It's all, you're right. I was about to say that they seem to have entered this government with sort of gay abandon to their economic prowess that they are supposedly known for.
You can't recognize this government anymore.
How much do you think, in your view, did the central bank bond issue that they did in February 2015, the 30-year bond, that was awarded to, the bulk of it was awarded to a company connected by marriage to the governor then. How much do you think that impacted on the United National Party?
So that certainly impacted on them negatively because of public perception. And also there was a loss incurred in that. I mean, loss in the sense they could have done it for less, kind of thing. Now that is the evidence that was given to court
by no less a person than Auditor General.
And so many other officials up and down the line. So there was that loss, and that was really a case of damage in terms of public perception, and also this loss. I think the damage in terms of public perception and confidence in these institutions, that was far greater than the simple monetary figure involved in that.
And even this monetary figure, they took almost 15 months, and it did take 15 months so they just allowed Mr. Mahendran's contract to come to a natural end. They didn't really get rid of him. They didn't retain him with a new contract, but they said at the beginning that they said, what loss? This is just a notional loss. And the other thing they said was there was nothing illegal well, I'm not so sure whether there isn't anything illegal in the failure to act professionally. I think that is the point here.
Yeah, illegal in the sense, when you look at the circumstances,
Yeah,
I mean, half the bond issue going to one party,
yeah.
and then that party getting money from the Bank of Ceylon.
At about
that whole-
two percentage points above
That's
what
the
was,
thing. That's the
the
thing.
average.
Yeah, it doesn't look good at all.
No.
And I suppose that appearance of whether a transaction has been done in the correct manner or not,
Yeah.
that is as important as it
actual.
being legal.
Yeah.
So they failed miserably on that issue of keeping that, of making that appear.
But but now,
Above
Mr.
all.
Chandraprema, we see that the same governor who wasn't given a new contract is now sort of being, for want of a better word, flaunted around with almost absolute sort of, I don't care what you think, but I will have him next to me. And it is almost like telling the people, this public opinion, this public perception, I don't care what you think. This is my man, and I'm going to have him, whether you like it or not. That's the kind of perception that is being sent.
Absolutely, that is very unfortunate, because that is the same attitude they had adopted to many things, not just that.
Yeah,
So that is not going to, work in their favor at all. I mean, you can see from the mood that is building up among the public
yeah,
that it's working. It's going in the opposite direction. It's going in the wrong direction. So there should be more. They should be now. Just look at the threats that are being issued to journalists.
that's right.
Every fortnight.
Yeah,
I mean, the sense you don't care two hoots about public perception or how you will be looked at and that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So that's the prevailing attitude here.
indeed.
You can't really match the present UMP after 2015
Yeah,
to what we saw in 2001,
Yeah.
for example, or even before that.
indeed.
Even a man like President Premadasa, who was supposedly a dictator,
Yeah,
even he was more sensitive to public perception than this.
indeed. And that's the ironic part, that this government came in because of public perception. It was public perception of corruption, nepotism, family rule, and wastage, and so on. And the people had enough of the war victory being churned out day in and day out.
Yeah, that's right.
So people got fed up, and they brought this government in on this basis of good governance, on these promises of good governance. And isn't it a pity that the people cannot take them to court and sue them because it's tantamount to a criminal breach of trust?
Absolutely. It can't be described as anything else
Indeed.
other than a completely unacceptable breach of trust.
Indeed.
I mean, all those things that were said, especially to the younger generation, I mean, they would be feeling hoodwinked by now.
Indeed.
And probably they do.
And to make matters worse and to compound the people's dissatisfaction is this, from the people's view, own goal. Because now, with the passage of the 19th Amendment, we are stuck with this one parliament, this group, unless they agree to dissolve parliament.
Yeah, that was a very, very foolhardy thing to introduce into the constitution for us. That parliament can't be dissolved for 4.5 years.
Right.
I mean, who would bind themselves? Ultimately,
Yeah.
you might end up having a situation where governments are changed outside parliament. I mean, if a government that is obviously in a state of collapse,
Yeah.
if it can't be dissolved and an election held, then where do you go from there?
Indeed.
Now, this was brought in with the intention of curbing the president's powers.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
notionally within.
Yeah.
inverted commas.
Yeah.
But what have they done with that? Now, yes, it's true that Chandrika Kumaratunga abused that power
Yeah.
by dissolving the UMP government of 2001 2.5 years early,
Right.
or 3.5 years early.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chandrapema, we've run out of time. So, very quickly, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
Yeah, my
we do
pleasure,
appreciate
My pleasure.
your presence here. And stay safe. Thank you for watching Newsline. It's been a pleasure. Do join us daily, Monday to Friday, 7 to 7:30. Same time, same place, live from Dawson Street. Have a great day and God bless.
News